questions I want to ask next are around a child development and their education. But before I go to that, actually, I want to ask a question around understanding and communicating with your child. How do you encourage that? Even from a young age, your child may just want to not engage, or may not want to communicate, or you because sometimes they can't express themselves. How do you overcome that, or any advice on that, on how to communicate and understand your child so you can meet their needs, especially if they are going to nursery or going to school and they are experiencing new things, especially again if they've just come from a different environment, like a different country to the UK, and they've joined the school and education system is different, the way they are taught is different. Let me give an instance. For example, because I grew up in Nigeria, in the education system is about marking the result. In the UK, they mark the process. So a child comes in and says, this is the answer. But here, they want to know, how did you get there? The child says, I'm giving you the answer. Why are you asking me for the process? I got the answer. The answer 2 + 2 is 4. Okay, how did you get to 4? The child doesn't want to care. The child doesn't want to know. How do you engage in such instances and help to understand and communicate better with the child?
Thank you very much, sir. I think communication, it's the oxygen of life, even for children, from when they are born, and from as young as a day old, the mother is communicating, the father is communicating, the child is constantly looking at the mother's face. So, and that goes on and on. I'll just come from a professional background whereby children go through stages of development, and when we are communicating with them, we need to improve, or I wouldn't use change. We need to adapt into the levels whereby they are growing. We have a teenager. Dad and I, we had to have a meeting that, okay, I think the way we used to talk is not working now. We need to change things, because the way a 13-year-old, a teenager, is reasoning at this current stage is very fast. Their brain, their body is going through a lot of changes. You can't be talking to a 13-year-old like a 5-year-old. They just won't have it. In the UK, it's not that they're being rebellious. Sometimes we African parents, we get it wrong. We think that they're being rebellious. Why are you not listening? Why is your face like that? No, they're not being rebellious. There are stages of child development. 0 to 5 is the formative years, where the love, the care, come on, hug, jump, kiss, talking, you're communicating through sitting together in front of the TV, watching everything together. That's a stage of communication, a stage of development. Now they start school from like age 4, 5. Their development is changing. Their cognitive development is changing. Now you need to start putting boundaries in place, because at that stage, actually, it's even faster now. From age 3, if anyone on the platform has a 3-year-old, they are very smart. It's not up to when they get to 4 year, 5 years old anymore. From age 3, their cognitive development is going so far. Their brain is really active. And when we have 2-year-olds, you hear something that people may call terrible twos, but we don't call it terrible twos. We call it terrific twos. Terrific twos, why do they behave the way they behave? It's because they want to discover, they want to go on your TV, they want to get the remote control, they want to spill your water. So children are constantly going through stages of development that sometimes, I know we are childcare practitioners. This might not be known to many parents, but we need to understand our children. We need to sometimes step back and see what exactly is happening. I had to speak to my husband that, okay, our daughter, she's getting older, there are hormones, her cortex, her brain. So Dad said, oh, okay, all right. I said, sometimes she doesn't even know why she's behaving like that. Her body is changing. And then Dad said, oh, All right, okay. All right, you go and talk to her then. So we have to learn, we have to develop. Even we are still learning.
Absolutely.
Every day. We must be firm with our children, but we must apply what is called being firm and being fair. Sometimes we're firm, very firm with our children, and on the other hand, that is very firm. You have to have a balance. That is very firm, and I come from the fairness. I go and call our daughter. You know what you've done. You know your dad doesn't understand that you're in that time of the month and all that. So, and then I call him. Can you go and speak to your daughter? So we need to understand that children, just like adults, they go through stages of development. 0 to 5, you need to talk to them in a certain way. When they start school, you've got to be really firm, because what they are starting to learn, starting to develop, is going to carry them on. So that stage of 5 to like 10, you've got to be really firm and fair and put boundaries in place. Despite all that you're doing at home, communicate with them, talk to them. Even the Bible says, wherever you go, in the car, in the park, everywhere, carry on talking to the children. Carry on talking to the children. I'll just stop there.
Can I just add something very quickly? Thank you so much. I mean, of course, I'm surprised that I'm adding anything at all. But I strongly believe communication is what you do and what you don't do, what you say and what you don't say. So I want to focus on how we communicate with our children with our actions as well. You find out that a lot of what we do get across to them. So we can also communicate, by, sometimes it's not just words, it's the odd just that is, you can neutralize a lot of things. If they're going through issues like my wife will address, that might just, so that I wanted to add that to what she said as well. Thank you.